in the previous video, I talked about the disadvantage you're operating under whenever you go in and submit to an interrogation or a police interview. And that is you're going into something that you're unprepared for, and chances are the officer or the investigator is extremely prepared for and has been trained maybe for hours in how to conduct a proper investigation and a proper interview. One of the things that people misunderstand the most, or maybe they just have a misconception about it, and that is that when you get called into an interrogation, the police really just want to get your side of the story. Most of the time that couldn't be any farther from the truth. They're not there to get your side of the story. They're there to get information to help them build their case. I can count on one hand, and I wouldn't even have to go very far, the number of times over the last 40 years that I've seen people go into an interrogation and essentially talk their way out of having charges filed against them when that was the intent of bringing them in the first place. Generally, it's the opposite. They may not have much of a case, and they may not have even charged someone were it not for what they went in and told the police during the interview. And the second thing you need to be aware of is that it's not just your admissions that are going to get you into trouble. In other words, it's not just whether or not you go in and confess to committing a crime, because most people, well, I won't say most people, but I mean, some people are smart enough to avoid doing that. But they may be too smart for their own good, and that they go in and they think they can avoid making an admission and avoid making admissions that end up implicating them or coming back to hurt them. More often than not, it's the statements in an interrogation or in an interview that have nothing to do with the actual facts of the offense that cause people the most problems. Just as an example, you may go in and say you were at a certain location at a certain time, and that's not true. You're trying to cover for where you really were. What you weren't truthful about is going to be used against you, and it's going to be used to paint you as someone who's, if you're not truthful about that, then you're not truthful when you deny the offense. So it's not just the admissions that get you, it's usually the little minor details that end up tripping you up, and that's another reason why it's just never a good idea to go in and submit to an interview or an interrogation.